Go live when you're ready, Chad.
All right. And we're live.
All right, thank you, Chad. Before we get started, everybody, I just want to let you know, obviously Peter Dewan, he termed out and he's no longer with us. But Jim Kroom has submitted his resignation. And so we're short Jim as well as the vice chair. And I had asked Mike if he'd be willing to facilitate the meeting and take it from here. So Mike, if you could take it over, it's all you.
All right, happy to. I guess let's get the roll call. Chad, will you please take the roll?
Absolutely. Members, please say that you're stating attending the meeting remotely and what city and state you're from. Jacqueline Babcock.
I'm attending remotely from East Lansing.
Greg Bauline.
Present, attending remotely from East Lansing, Michigan.
Kristen Clark.
Attending remotely from Petoskey, Michigan.
Luke Hackney.
Present, attending remotely from East Lansing, Michigan.
Michael Kruger.
Present, attending remotely from East Lansing.
George Lahanas.
Present, attending remotely from Rochester, Michigan.
Ruben Levinson. I see here that Ruben's with us. I believe he's driving at the moment. He is definitely called in on a cell phone. Jeff Smith.
Present, attending virtually from East Lansing, Michigan.
Thank you. And Mayor Stevens.
Present, however, I will be designating the Mayor Pro Tem as voting in my stead, as I will be unable to attend the majority of the meeting. Thanks.
And as the voting member for the remainder of the meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Greg.
Present, attending remotely from East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
And that completes the roll call.
All right, thank you, Chad. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, look for a move to approve the agenda.
I'll motion, Luke Hackney.
Support.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, move on to the approval of the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look those over. I'll look for a motion to move approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
previous meeting's movement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I should probably abstain since I wasn't at that meeting.
Fair enough. Motion passes. 1.4, we've got the election of officers. Seeing as Peter has resigned due to term limits and Jim Kroom also resigned, we are looking to elect all new officers here. So anybody wish to make a nomination?
Yes, I do. Greg Bauline.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, I would like to nominate the following slate: Michael Kruger as chair, Luke Hackney as vice chair, and Kristen Clark as treasurer.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. I guess we should make sure that everybody nominated is willing to do so. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I have a slightly altered slate suggestion, so I don't know how that works if we have opposing nominations. But I just, before we vote, I wanted people to know that there is possibly a second option. But yeah, I think we should definitely confirm that everyone's willing.
Okay. Well, let's start with that first. Yeah, I would be willing to serve as chair if elected. Luke?
Yes.
Okay. And Kristen?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we can open it up for discussion then, wherein I don't see why we can't talk about other potential nominees before we make a vote.
It's always awkward to discuss somebody's nomination in front of them. And Luke, no offense to you, I just know that you are very committed on a lot of other boards. My suggestion would have been Jeff Smith for vice chair. Slight alteration. Obviously, I think very highly of Luke.
Okay. Jeff, is that a position you would be willing to serve in before we go any further?
I would be willing, but I think Luke would also make a great candidate. So.
Okay. Well, I guess we have the nominations as presented, or as called for by Greg. Unless Greg has any kind of alterations he would like to make, I think that we should probably go ahead and at least vote on that motion.
So if it's not, if it's a slate, then, so can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
So should we just do each individual position and then just go down the list and see who votes for how many, which one, so that we, or do we just vote for, now that we have someone else who wants to run or who would be put forward to run? Like
well,
vote for chair.
Right. So, as I understand it, the motion's been put forward as a slate. So either Greg could amend that motion, or we could go ahead and vote on this motion. And
I actually think that when you do an election of members, that you do it where you, if there's a slate, that people can nominate, ask for individual people, and then you have to vote on them. So I don't know if an election of members is handled the same way.
I got you. Okay.
But do we have a city attorney on the line? Adam?
Scott Hogan's trying to speak, I believe. Scott, you're muted.
Scott Hogan from Foster.
Sorry, Scott Hogan from Foster Swift here.
Great. So just that question, how do we handle if there's individual members that people want to nominate or have move forward as people for, do we have to address a slate and vote yes or no, or do you vote for individual people? How would you propose that under Robert's rules?
Can you give me about 30 seconds and I will have an answer for you.
Anyone have any good jokes?
None that are public meeting friendly. We could talk about the weather. It's quite lovely.
Small talk is so hard on Zoom.
Only one more month.
Is that the plan, is to come back for in-person in a month?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back.
Yes, the plan is.
It's by position.
Well, did
So
everyone catch that?
So we can, even though the slate has been moved as a whole slate, we can vote for a position. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So how would that proceed then? The chair, just because there's no one else running for it, the chair is, you just vote and everyone says yay or nay for that one position. And then if it's two people for one thing, then you count votes for each person.
Yes.
And for the vice chair?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to call the chair, vote for the chair first and then do vice chair?
Is it necessary to have Greg retract his motion?
Mr. Hogan, is it
Just
necessary to
present
retract the
slate.
motion?
Yeah, probably it should be done that way, to retract the motion. And then nominate for vice chair. If there's, I think we should maybe reset the motion and go by nominating somebody for chair, then nominating for vice chair, then nominating for treasurer. I think that would be the cleanest.
Yeah, because there's not support for a full slate. I think that's the way to do it.
Okay, Greg, would you be willing to retract your motion then?
Kind of thought about it, and I kind of decided that these were the candidates I thought should serve in those roles. It's nothing against any other candidates. I just thought these were the best for those positions. So I don't know that I can amend it.
Yeah, so I think in terms of Robert's rules, you just don't, if it's an election for multiple people and you propose a slate and people want to nominate individuals, I think that the individual election for each person is the way you do it under parliamentary procedures and not with a slate. But that's what I was trying to say, and I'm not an expert in that area, but so.
Well, I just know that since I've been on DDA, we have only voted slate positions. We haven't voted individually.
Why don't we
because
make
there was unanimity?
Why don't we make this really, really easy? I can decline the nomination and we can go forward with the slate as presented. My intention, I mean, the goal here is for the DDA to operate as a unit, right? And if there's a potential rift or potential divide between any position, any elected officer position or nominated officer position, that can't operate as a unit. I'm coming on fairly young as a member of the DDA. The officers selected in the original slate have been involved or have deep ties into the history of what's happening with the DDA and are on boards or committees that represent the DDA beyond the primary board. I have no problem declining the nomination and making my way through this process to get to a point where I feel very, very comfortable in the position that Luke is in now or Michael's in now.
Jeff,
Okay,
I mean,
well then I think, go ahead, Luke.
I was just gonna say, I mean, that's very admirable if that's what you want to do. I mean, I think we should just vote for each of these individually and let the chips fall for where they may. Just vote yes or no on each of Greg's slate, if you will, if that sounds agreeable to everyone else.
Well,
yeah, so I just think the way you do it with individuals, if there's two people running and there's two names, all you would say is Luke.
The name you'd like, yeah.
How many votes? Yeah, you say the name Luke, and then number of people you tally up support for Luke, and then you say the name Jeff, and then you tally up support for Jeff, and whoever has more votes, that person prevails. So you don't have to vote yes or no to an individual. You all just vote yes for the person. You just call out each name within that position.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd say all those in favor of Luke being vice chair, and then you say, and then each person says aye, whoever would, and you have to do a roll call, like say your name out loud and say yes. Then you say there are this many votes, and then you say next is Jeff Smith, all those in favor, and then each person says it, and then you just tally up the votes and you see who's prevailed at that. So that's the way you would do it, and then you don't have to vote no to any particular person. You're just voting for the person that you would support.
Yeah, well,
That's
is
what I
there
would
a second candidate for vice chair then?
No, if Jeff is not, I thought Jeff would support it, and I thought that Jeff's background would be a good fit for that position. But if he's not willing to serve, then there isn't. Is that Jeff?
Like I said, I'm more than willing to serve, but the goal here is for us to operate forward. I mean, you have two chairs that have resigned in the last 2 months. You've got a new council coming on board for the most part over the next 4 months. You know, history and longevity are going to make a huge difference for the city moving forward over the next year. And if we have the ability to move forward as a DDA, as a unit, I'd prefer individuals with some longevity and some knowledge of leading up to this point. And like I said, on boards and committees that are beyond this main board, I would prefer that, you know, we don't end up with a split vote in any of this. If it comes down to a unanimous decision for the three candidates that were originally presented in the slate, I'm for it.
I'm new to the board too. Is there no formal process for this? And if not, I think this conversation tells us that going forward, maybe we need to have one.
Yeah, so there is. Normally you just go through a chair and vice chair and secretary or treasurer, and then each person nominates someone and goes. The reason that the slate was mentioned as a matter of efficiency was because in the past there's never been discussion about who would serve, and it's always been unanimous, and everyone just says yes to slate, and we save time by doing that. But the way you would do it is the way I'm saying. You go through each position and you'd appoint and nominate someone at that point. There's no second needed for nominations of an election. You just nominate somebody. If the person's willing to serve, their name goes in. When you have all the names in, you close and say, let's vote for so-and-so. And then that's the position of chair. Then you go through and the committee votes yes to each person that they want, and then you just tally it up. So that is the Roberts Rules parliamentary procedure way of handling the vote. It's not done with a slate. The reason the slate was done in the past was because there was no one else who wanted to run. There were no multiples for a position. So that's the confusion we're having here. But like I said, if Jeff doesn't want to pursue it at this time and isn't able to want to serve at this point, then that's fine with me. Then we'll just go with the slate if that's what people want.
Jeff, is that your wish at this point?
I am 100% fine with it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then moving forward, I guess let's vote on the slate as presented. Do we need to do an individual roll call?
I don't think so, because it's only a yes or no,
Okay.
because then there's no other alternative. So the alternative is if it passes, right?
Okay.
So I guess
So all
you
in
can do a
favor?
roll call because yep. Yes.
Okay, so Chad, are we doing so George, would you prefer to do a roll call, or should we just?
Let's do a roll call then, if it's easier for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, yes or no on the slate? Jackie, do you have a question?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So this is for the slate as originally proposed. We're not doing it individually.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Babcock,
Yes.
Ballline,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hackney. Luke, you were muted. Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Michael Kruger,
Yes.
Lahanas,
Yes.
Levinson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gregg.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
All right, moving on, I guess, to the June 2021 financial report. Is that going to be Heather or Chad?
That will be Chad. Let me share my screen here.
Chad, okay.
Can everybody see it okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Here's our June budget performance numbers. I'd like to start off just first by saying, so this is the last month in our fiscal year. So June, this report here, I'll just move through pretty quickly because it will be coming back probably on a monthly basis for a little while until the audit is complete with everything. Okay, so here you can see our wages from June, which were largely from the al fresco, but Also, the other place projects we have going on, expenditures for the month in our project development fund. And then just real quickly on the treasurer's report. So last month, June 24th, the DDA approved a $2,500 donation to the East Lansing Art Festival, and that's shown up here on our last line. We've already expended that money and made that transfer. The only other thing is the Albert Al Fresco. We also spent the full 20,000 allotted money there. It went pretty quickly with some infrastructure and the games that we purchased and things like that. So beyond that, really the bond schedule is attached also. And then if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Do we have any questions from the board?
The bond schedule was updated on July 19th, just a few days ago, just as an FYI for the board.
And for the newcomers on the board, just a reminder on the fiscal year start and stop for the city in the DDA.
It's June 30th of each year. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chad. Communications, we have a thank you letter from the Art Fest organizers. I guess we can move into communications from the audience. Chad, do we have any callers that would like to communicate to the DDA?
We do, Chair. Thank you. Currently, there's just one caller in the queue. So caller 963, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak. And if you do not wish to speak, you can please say pass. And your 5 minutes will begin now.
Thanks, Chad. This is Alice Jegger from East Lansing Info. I just wanted to note that in the item on the Evergreen Properties that I can't tell from the memo, but it looks as if maybe the advisory committee has been meeting without proper noticing to the public and without holding the meetings in a public fashion. I suppose there could be an argument made that they're not subject to the Open Meetings Act, but for that issue, I would refer the city manager and the city attorney to the case of Morrison versus City of East Lansing, which was a case decided at the Court of Appeals in 2003 that found that the city had violated the Open Meetings Act when it failed to have an advisory board on the Hannah Community Center be meeting in public regularly and having public notices regularly. The city paid about $28,000 in the plaintiff's legal fees in that case. But more significant, I think, is not the potential for a lawsuit and gumming up the works further on the Evergreen Properties or costing the taxpayers money. I think the bigger point is simply that this ought to be done transparently, and there's no reason for this group not to be meeting in public and allow the public to watch what's going on and see what's being recommended. I would say that transparency under the city council and the city has gotten worse since last fall when we took on a new city attorney and a new city council. I thought it would get better. It has not gotten better. It's actually gotten worse. That's not true at the DDA, and I would hope that the DDA would support the idea of doing things in public appropriately. I recognize there are sometimes special exceptions where things need to be done in private. That is, for example, when there is a bid being made on the purchase of a piece of property and you have to protect how high we would go on the bid. That's absolutely in the public's interest. It's well recognized as a reason to keep things private. But for the most part, you're doing the people's business. You're doing the people's business with millions of dollars. It would be good to do it in public. And I appreciate the service that you all do. I think it allows, when you do it in public, for people who are very smart to give you lots of feedback. There are a lot of smart people, including you all, in the city of East Lansing, and keeping open those lines of communications is made possible by transparency. It's a shame when I'm only able to tell people after the fact that something happened and they had pertinent information that they would have shared with you if they had known something was about to happen. So I would like to recommend that the Evergreen Properties Advisory Committee follow the Open Meetings Act, but I would more generally just ask that this new leadership of the DDA do everything it can to operate in a transparent fashion that allows the people of the city to know what you're doing in our names. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alice. I'm not sure that that committee actually did meet because I'm on that committee and I was not aware of that meeting. So I'm not sure what you saw in that memorandum that made you think that we did meet. But if there was a meeting, I was certainly not a part of it. But all right, Chad, do we have anybody else in the queue?
No, Chair. The other callers are here for agenda items.
But to Alice's point, yes, I 100% agree that the more transparency we have, the better it's going to be for the city. So, I guess moving on to communications from staff.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Can everyone hear me? All right, thank you. Just wanted to say, as stated earlier, we will be meeting in person beginning next month. It looks like we'll be meeting at the MSU Broad Art Lab to start with. And so more information will be coming out soon on that. We continue to obviously implement and expand and involve our placemaking efforts, Albert Al Fresco. Hopefully you guys all got the article I sent maybe a week or two ago from Cranes Detroit. A really good feature on East Lansing and the DDA's efforts for local economic recovery and our placemaking efforts. Arts Festival is coming up soon in about 2 weeks. And our team is currently planning on what's next, what's coming up in the fall, what's coming up in the winter. How can we keep this momentum going that we've really garnered? I guess at the next DDA, you'll see some stats. I'll go through some data collection, some of the numbers we've collected so far as community input, business input on how our placemaking efforts are going. And that's about it.
Can I make a comment? It's Ruben.
Yes, Ruben.
Adam, just wanted to let you know I've gone down there many times lately, and it is amazing the amount of people down there. I've been in East Lansing a long time, and on a Sunday night, especially, it's usually dead down there, and it's been very, very lively. I've never seen so many people down there. So great job down
there. Thank you, Ruben. Yeah, it's quite impressive, the vibrancy, the activity going on down there. The community has really showed up and responded well to what we've been doing.
I have some ideas, and I think there's more we can do. Like you said, it's time to build on that momentum. I have some ideas for it, but I think I'll try to form those in an email to you later.
Great. Yeah, I'm all ears, guys, from everyone. So send those ideas along.
So Adam, not to change topics quickly, George here. Can you tell us, to Alice's point, has this group met? Have they met?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Secretly, without anyone knowing. So okay, so that didn't happen. I think.
I can speak to that, George.
That was all news to me.
I can speak to that, George. The Evergreen project team. Can you hear me?
Yeah, is this Tom?
This is Tom. So the Evergreen project team was established by a resolution of the DDA, and they have had one meeting, which was on Zoom in June of 2020. I think that's what's referenced in the MOU.
And that was in public?
That's correct. It was via the public Zoom that we had spun up at that point.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Can I go ahead and
Adam? Yes, Kristen.
I just wanted to chime in on Adam's hard work with the Albert Street project. In the Glencairn neighborhood Facebook page, there's just been some chatter and postings going on there about how fantastic it's been. And we got compared to the Church Street Marketplace in Burlington, Vermont. And there's some excitement around seeing the potential. So there have been quite a few comments on our neighborhood Facebook page encouraging other neighbors to get downtown and check out the Albert Al Fresco. So well done.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Any more comments from staff? Seeing none, let's move on to our business agenda, item 4.1. I believe, Heather, you are up.
Yes. Hello, everybody. So I'm bringing back to the DDA board for recommended approval to reestablish our facade improvement program. As you recall, we established this in 2016, did some changes which allowed more flexibility in the program in 2018. At that point, we had 6 participants in the program. And then when COVID came around, if you recall, that spring, we put a halt to all of our programming and really focused on just funding grants and other items for business support during COVID-19. And so now that, we're moving forward, I have had a few calls from businesses who are interested in doing some improvements, and we're wondering if this program is still available. So we do have funds available in our to be determined line item as part of the project development fund, and this is our fiscal year 22 budget I'm referring to. There's around $93,000 that the DDA has the ability to fund for different programs and projects. And so staff is recommending that the DDA allocate $15,000. This could be anywhere from 3 to 5 businesses, depending on the amount of funding that they request. But it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a starting point. And if the program takes off again, if the DDA does approve it and the program takes off again, staff would, of course, come back and seek some additional some funding. Again, we broke this down into 3 categories. When the program was initially launched, we were getting a lot of applications for more like maintenance items and signs and awnings. So at that time, we took a step back and decided to make those changes. So those are subcategories. So if the DDA does approve this, we would have the program run through May of 2022. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Heather, can you just repeat how much you're requesting for? I didn't quite make that out.
15,000. And so typically, Chad, if you could go back up, no, the other way. Next page, please. Next page, please, Chad. Down, the other way. Should be, let me see here. Go up to page 3. There we go. So this is how the program is broken out by, in the past, we had up to $30,000 because of the transformational restoration improvements, which is a 50% match up to $10,000. We've never had a request for that. So really the request comes for the signs and awnings and maintenance. And so we could, easily, serve, and, at least 5 businesses through those. And again, that's typically what we would see. If in the case the DDA approves the 15 and we do have a transformational restoration improvement application come in, definitely that's something that would be a larger discussion as far as the board and allocating additional funds for that specific project. Adam, you have a question?
Adam.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think this perfectly aligns with our efforts downtown to beautify our storefronts. And so I just think we can get some momentum on this and build off of it if there's interest by the businesses. But I do think it aligns perfectly with what we're trying to do to beautify and activate downtown.
Michael, Greg Ballline.
Yes, Greg.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this. I think it's a good idea. I'm sad that we stopped doing it, but I think it's a great idea.
And with an expenditure of up to $15,000, Greg?
Yes, I'm fine with it. If it, meets must.
If that's a motion, I'll second.
All right, so we've got a motion to approve in a second. I think I'm not sure if I need to recuse myself from this vote. This is a program that I may look to take advantage of, so I don't want to necessarily vote in favor of something or against something that I may be a part of. So if somebody could.
I will go ahead and make a motion to recuse Michael Kruger from the following vote and ask for a second.
Second.
Can I just speak to that for a second? Because I just had this come up at council, Michael. Legally, you have to declare that you have a possible business conflict. But if your fellow board members feel that you can vote, neutrally, even though it's something that might affect you positively or negatively, all you have to do is declare it. And then that has to go into the meeting minutes, and I will be similarly declaring. I don't plan to, but who knows what would happen in the future. So I also am a downtown business owner that would be eligible for this and possibly economically impacted by it.
And Ruben Levinson, assuming Blue Owl Coffee might be impacted, I'll state and declare the same here.
Me so much of Dad.
So I think
all right, so
it would have to be a unanimous vote to recuse. I personally don't think that you are so swayed by your personal possible business interest that you can't see the overall effect. So I would not support that. And similarly for Ruben and myself, I think that we can, acknowledge that this board is made up of downtown business owners, at least in part.
We may not have enough.
Okay, Jesse, that sounds good.
If too many.
All right, I will go ahead and retract my motion then. It seems like pretty clear the three people that can benefit from this have stated so. Does anybody have a problem with any of them voting? If not, then as long as, I believe, Jeff, you were the one to second my vote. So as long as you're good with retracting, we will retract.
Yep.
Okay. I think we can move forward.
All right, let's go ahead and, yep, so we can go ahead and vote on the motion then. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Move on to 4.2, consider a funding request for SCENE Metrospace to assist with utility costs for a duration of 3 years.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So just to summarize, obviously everyone's been hit really hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, and SCENE Metrospace has not been excluded from that. Typically, the parking department covers utilities, but our parking department has also faced significant revenue losses because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so essentially what we're recommending is the DDA consider up to $2,000 annually for 3 years to cover up to half the cost of the utilities for the SCENE Metrospace. So over a 3-year period, this would total max $6,000. And again, this is just a temporary thing till we kind of help our partners get back on their feet and get that sustainable revenue stream going again. And Jacqueline from SCENE Metrospace is on the call to answer any questions as well.
All right, thanks, Adam. Yes. Luke.
I'm just going to go ahead and just move this along and make a motion for the DDA to, let's see, authorize agreement with the MSU AAHD not to exceed $2,000 annually for a duration of 3 fiscal years to pay for these costs.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Let's move on to 4.3. Considering a request by Bell's Greek Pizza for the DDA to deny or approve its outdoor expansion and beautification grant application.
Yeah, thanks, Chair.
Adam again. Okay.
So, Yep. This is one of several applications we've received for the Outdoor Expansion and Beautification Grant Program. Staff did deny the application, and at the request of the business owner, have placed it on the agenda for DDA's consideration. The reason staff did deny the application is it did not meet the all three eligibility requirements, which is you have to be located within the DDA. You have to have an approved temporary outdoor dining expansion application from the Planning and Zoning Administrator, and you have to submit either cost estimates and or invoices to verify cost. The applicant did not provide any cost estimates nor any invoices, and the applicant does not have approval from the Planning and Zoning Administrator for a temporary outdoor area expansion. And so the applicant is actually on the line to answer any questions, and I'm here as well.
All right.
I do have a quick question.
Further, I suppose I should. Real quick, I just want to declare that I did work for Habib back when I was in college. It was many, many moons ago, but just wanted to put that out there to be fully transparent. It was an enjoyable time in my life, and I enjoyed working for him. So, but all that aside, Luke, you've got a question?
Yeah, I was just curious how this ended up coming to us. The way it was worded in our packet, it sounded like it was a request from them directly. Is that how this works?
So I was obviously Peter Dewan had termed out, and so working with the current previous vice chair Jim Kroom, shared the email with Jim, and he requested that this be placed on the agenda.
I understand. Thank you.
Greg Ballline, have a question, Michael.
Yes, Greg.
Would it be appropriate to hear what Habib has to say about it?
That's where I was just about to go with this. So yeah, why don't we give Habib a chance to speak to the board? If we could unmute him and allow him some time to explain the reasoning behind this, I think that would be a positive thing.
Yep, he has been unmuted.
Hello, everybody. This is Habib from Bell's Pizza. Thank you for everything you're doing. You know, I just heard about the application or the help the city offering for the businesses in downtown East Lansing to improve the outside sitting. So I don't know, is my business in the zoning of downtown East Lansing downtown or not, but I filled up the application. I answered all the questions with all the information, what will be costing, and I submitted. The gentleman sent me back a denied, and I replied back to him, telling him most of the improver I will be doing myself. I will go shop at Home Depots or any place, you know, buy trees, plant the trees myself. Maybe I will buy chairs and tables from on restaurant supplies places, and do it myself, you know, to save money. I figured out it cost me around $6,000 to $7,000 because I need little fencing and stuff like that. So this is the reason I tell him to put it into the board. Do you have any question?
Does anybody have any questions for Habib?
I guess I have questions for Adam regarding the process. I haven't actually looked at that application yet. So it's a matching grant, yes?
Correct. We'll match dollar for dollar up to $2,500. And that's to expand your existing outdoor footprint or beautify your storefront.
So those aspects of the application that were incomplete, would we be able to work with Habib to get it into compliance and then give him some sort of assurance that since he would have to kind of expend the money before we could match the money, yeah or no?
Yeah, so we set it up so that if you are an eligible applicant, you don't have to expend the money until you know that you're approved, right? And so had this applicant been eligible, he would have been approved, and then I would have sent a grant agreement saying, okay, we approve, you know, your conceptual, all the cost estimates, everything. At this point, go spend the money, submit the invoices, and then we'll reimburse you as quickly as possible. But in this instance, there were no cost estimates or invoices to even verify cost. And there's no approval of that temporary outdoor application. And so just sticking with the guidelines, it was denied.
Adam, Greg Bowen.
So what would, go ahead, Greg.
Yes. You know, I think it would be in the best interest of the DDA to work on a solution to the issue, to get invoices, to get estimates, and try to expedite that process so we can approve this at the next meeting. I guess that's where I would be. Let's take care. Let's find the solution to the problem and not just say yes or no.
Correct. Yeah. Typically, if an applicant, you know, doesn't have an approval or, you know, is missing a key eligibility requirement, technical assistance is provided prior to an application being submitted, and we work through it together. But in this case, the applicant just submitted the application without any conversation to staff. And now my time is spent creating AIRs and discussing this at the meeting rather than giving technical assistance.
No, I understand why the rules are put in place, and I think we need to abide by the rules. I'm just wondering if we can't work hand in hand to find the solution here, so that we can bring the applicant into compliance and then look at, you know, a finalized bill and what we're actually paying for and how much we're paying for it. I know what the max is.
Absolutely.
But I'd like to find a solution.
Can I ask something, please? The areas already existed. What do I need approval for? Is already I have a patio outside. Just need some clean up and, you know, beautify it. So do we need approval for an area has already been there for a long time?
Yeah, the program, the intent wasn't to cover the cost of deferred maintenance. It was to help incentivize the expansion of your outdoor footprint.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Habib?
I got it.
Intent. Okay. Okay, it doesn't seem like this is something that the DDA should be voting a yes or no on. I think that it seems appropriate to have discussion about it, you know, publicly to, you know, sort of figure out a solution to help Habib get this approved. But I'm not sure that this is something that I don't know that it would even make sense for us to do any kind of vote on it. Does that seem correct, Adam?
I would agree with that, Chair.
Okay. So I guess what I would say is that why don't we, as a board, direct Adam to work with Habib on some options for him as far as, I understand that he wants to do most of the work himself, but I'm not sure that the intent is being met with the actual expansion of the outdoor seating area. So I think that is sort of up for the city to decide. That being said, you know, if the you know, maybe the facade improvement grant might be more appropriate, you know, maybe we could help him apply for that grant. I think that's been approved now. As far as, you know, helping him to fix up his patio to, you know, that already does exist. So does anybody else have any thoughts or feelings that they would like to express on this topic?
Yes, Michael. Greg Bowen. I really think that the facade improvement, I don't know if it meets the qualifications of it, but I guess, you know, if it helps him to improve his facade and his facility, I think that was the purpose of the facade grants. Can we instruct city staff to work with Habib to find a solution. Whatever's more appropriate, whichever grant makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying right now. So.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, and our team's more than happy to help any business owner work through this process and try to meet their needs within our capacity to do so.
Okay, Habib, does that seem satisfactory at this point?
I appreciate you guys. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Habib. All right, why don't we move on then to item 4.4, consider a proclamation for former DDA Chair Peter Dewan.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's Adam again. Yes, we're just obviously Peter Dewan played a significant role in all things DDA, Planning Commission, but more recently DDA and BRA, and attaches this a proclamation just acknowledging his volunteer, his service, his contribution to the community. And so staff is just recommending DDA approve and allow the chair to sign the proclamation.
I personally think it's a great idea. Peter is awesome. He's been a big help to me personally while I was on the DDA, and just sort of learning, by watching him and watching how he conducted the meetings and went about preparing himself and always being, professional. And I'm happy to put the motion forward to do this proclamation for Peter.
Second, George.
Yes, Jackie.
Oh, I should say, I was going to second it. I was just going to say the same thing. I'm really new to the DDA, and Peter met with me personally and answered some of my questions, and I just think he's terrific. So this is totally appropriate.
Great. Any other discussion?
Yes, Greg Bollon. Peter's track record with the city and his volunteer efforts, Planning Commission, DDA, his character speaks volumes. I've never seen one of these come before me, and I hope it's not the last, but I think he's well deserving of this.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Now we're moving on to our unfinished business agenda. Item 5.1, consider a memorandum of understanding extension with River Caddis Development for the Evergreen Properties.
Yeah, thanks, Chair.
Looks like Adam
so
again.
Essentially, yes, sir. Essentially, just extending the MOU with River Caddis, except for there were two key changes to the MOU in the terms. One of them being essentially a carve out for art space should anything come to fruition and that location be a desirable by art space for a redevelopment project. The way the revised MOU letter is written would allow the DDA to work with art space on a redevelopment project on those properties. The second key change to the MOU is an automatic renewal. So either party can terminate the automatic renewal before the expiration date. However, if it is not terminated by one or by either party, then the MOU automatically extends for a period of 180 days. This is to help with capacity and time and resources devoted to all the resources it takes to prepare this MOU and continue to extend it. And so with that, I'm here to answer any questions as well as John McGraw.
Could I move approval of the extension, George?
Do we have a second?
I can second. Greg,
Can I just
sorry.
speak to my motion?
Councilmember Greg.
Councilmember Gregg has seconded the motion. Let's open it up for discussion then.
Could I speak to my motion quick?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so obviously I'm supportive of this. I think that, we have a great partner with Caddis. They have a lot of experience in development. They have a great East Lansing focus and East Lansing presence. Obviously, COVID has kind of derailed the efforts over the past year, and we kind of, all of us have a missing year. But I think that they're the ones to partner with us and to help bring this project to fruition. I think that they understand clearly what we're looking for in terms of office. I think when we look at the downtown and what we've done over the past decade or less, you see a lot of momentum, and you see an opportunity to make the downtown broader and more diverse. And I think that the moving forward of MSU-FCU has been a huge step for us. And I think that that sort of bodes well for the future. We saw TechSmith coming in to the city, onto the campus about a month ago, the groundbreaking. And I think that the opportunity is there to continue to diversify the downtown in a really exciting way. So I'm supportive of this extension. I think that they're the right partner, and I have confidence that this will be able to move it forward. I also think that the momentum by MSU-FCU of taking the buildings down and the city's decision to reset the infrastructure along the Evergreen Properties really sets the groundwork for development to move forward. So I'm wholeheartedly supporting this.
Anybody else wish to give an opinion?
Yes, Greg Ballline.
I guess I can. Okay, go ahead, Greg.
I just had some questions. I don't know that I've ever seen an exclusive contract with somebody that doesn't have to be renewed, that has auto renewals in it. Is that something that the city signs? I guess that's more of a question for the city attorney.
Yes, there can be automatic renewals. I've seen it before in other agreements. It's not uncommon to do that.
Right, but more specifically, my question was an exclusive agreement. I don't think any agreement that we have with the city is exclusive. Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge, I guess is the answer I would give, but I have certainly seen it before in an exclusive option to purchase property or something along those lines. I certainly have seen that before.
Yeah, I guess more my question is the auto renewals of it. I don't think I've ever seen a contract, and I question whether we can actually do this.
Yes, you can legally do this.
Michael, I have a question.
Yes, Jeff.
Similar to my inquiries before, when this comes up to the city, are we getting interest? And I recently read an article suggesting that there's a developer's code. I have never seen such a thing or heard of such a thing. The real estate development is a fairly dog-eat-dog industry. Are there any interests that we're hearing or seeing or inquiries coming in about the sites, even if it isn't the whole site, maybe it's individual sites, from any other interests to the city?
No, Jeff, I'm not aware of any inquiries or interest from any other developer.
Adam, to speak to that, if we were to get somebody who showed interest in the property, am I incorrect in assuming that by this contract, we can't even engage with them to discuss that with them?
That Scott, could you chime in on that for me?
That is correct, at least for the first 180 days. And then the city would have the option of terminating it, at the end of this extended 180 days.
Well,
I'm assuming that it prevents us from shopping it around as well then, Scott?
Yes.
Could I just jump in, Chair? George?
Yes, George.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand his point, but I think that 180 days is not that terribly long period of time, but also the property has sat for, over a decade at this point without much interest. So it isn't sort of like people are beating our doors down. And when we're asking Caddis to devote some time and effort to this project without compensation, because frequently you compensate people who are doing what they're doing, I think that giving them an exclusive option for a period of time then gives them this for the work they're doing. Because if they're doing work and then someone sweeps in right at the beginning or at the end here and grabs it from them, then what was the purpose of them doing their work? So I think that it's kind of a this for that you give them exclusive time so that they can do the work and hopefully deliver something. And if we have other strong interest in the near future and 6 months from now nothing has happened, then we go a different direction and we can not do the renewal. So.
Yeah, I don't think it comes up for renewal, George. I think that's the problem.
Oh no, we just raise it. No, it's not the problem. It's an automatic renewal without objection. So all we would have to do in December is put this back on the agenda and then say we don't want to continue. So either party can break the continuation of it. That's what it does.
I understand that.
And I want this 6 months.
No, I really want I want this project to succeed. I hope that they find tenancy. I mean, believe me, but I think it auto renews. The auto renewal of it in perpetuity is kind of, I kind of feel like we're going to get locked into this for years to come. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
Well, I believe you are, Greg, because come January, the DDA has a meeting prior to the expiration date of the MOU. And if the DDA decides that they do not want to continue the MOU with River Caddis, they can have that discussion at their board meeting and terminate the automatic renewal in the MOU. And that extension's terminated.
Yeah, I understand that, but what if somebody brings something forward in the meantime to city staff? City staff can't even engage and they can't even inform the DDA as such, correct?
Not until after that 180 days.
Hey guys, this is John McGraw. Can you hear me? Could I speak to this real quick, just from my end, River Caddis?
Yep. Yes, John, please.
Great. Just to speak to the concern, the shopping. Listen, it's not just my goal, River Caddis's goal, but it's the city of East Lansing's goal and the DDA's goal to get people walking downtown, to get people working downtown, to change the fabric of how people walk downtown and who comes down. So if somebody comes in that is looking to work with the city and wants a presence and wants this site, we're not going to stop that from happening. The end goal is to get people working downtown, not to make River Caddis money. Our goal as a representative of not just the community, but as the awarded partner in development is to assist the city and DDA on bringing the best people forward, the best project forward for short and long-term goals. So if someone comes in and doesn't want anything to do with River Caddis, but wants to build an office building downtown on the Evergreen site, then we're absolutely willing to let them do that. Now, if they want to work with River Caddis on that, we're absolutely willing to do that. This is supposed to be a partnership and a means to achieve our goals. So hopefully that addresses some of the concern.
Thank you, John. This is Jeff. And with that said, is it something we can amend? Maybe this will solve some of the concerns. Can we amend the agreement to allow for, let's say there, I asked the question, and it's possible that there have been developers that have come forward and you're unable to share that with the DDA simply because of exclusivity. is it possible to amend the agreement to allow for the discussions to occur if a developer were to approach the DDA about these sites, simply because it may be in both Caddis's interest and the DDA's interest and the city's interest to engage with that developer with the intention that maybe there's a partnership that could be formed where, you know, it's a multiple layered ownership and development solution. Can we simply amend it?
Are you asking that of our attorney? Are you speaking to John specifically?
Well, this is Ruben. I'd also like to hear from John, if possible, on top of Jeff's comments, like what is Caddis's interest in exclusivity, maybe with the collaborative attitude that John was displaying there. John, what is the exclusivity need that you guys have?
Well, it comes from a couple different places. You know, we spent a lot of time and resources internally without asking to be compensated to bring forward a result. You know, in the very beginning of this project, we sent in a submittal for an RFP, and we had a soft commitment from a very large tenant. And since COVID hit, we've had that tenant drop off. That tenant also came with potentially 6 complementary tenants that filled the entire building. So really our goal now is almost turning into more of a development consultant or a development representative alongside and with the city and DDA to fill this area up. So we've brought on a national brokerage firm to assist us in our efforts, and they only get paid based off of commissions, and they're not going to work without knowing that River Caddis has an exclusive on this project, because if they work for months and months on end and then it can just be pulled away and given to somebody else, then they're also working for free. So with that same respect, we would like the opportunity to have those conversations with people in the potential partnership rather than it just going straight beside us. That's what we've worked for this exclusivity. Instead of asking for compensation, we're asking for the exclusivity and the pleasure to work with the city and DDA to fill this up.
Right, and this is Ruben again. That validates my next comment, which is that I think, like in any business transaction, we have to be willing to pay for the type of consulting work they're doing if we don't want exclusivity. I can only imagine the amount of hours and dollars they've got into this. And so I think we would need to be willing to pay for that if we don't want this type of agreement.
And this is John McGraw again to talk on Mr. Smith's comment. While I honestly believe that no matter what happens, we're in this to be collaborative. And I'd like this to stay, this exclusivity to stay. While we can cancel this in 6 months, I think that the opportunity to work within the room with the city and the DDA instead of amending the contract, because if we amend the exclusive, then anything can happen that automatically kicks out River Caddis. Now, I think that this is going to take a little bit of trust, but I'm hoping to this point we've earned it.
Yes, I think back to George here, back to Ruben Levinson's point. I think that his point is well made, that the trade-off for being exclusive is that we're not giving them a fee because they're the exclusive and hopefully they find the development. But I do think that is the best deal for the DDA going forward. It's the least risk for us, but it has obviously a great partnership with Caddis, so that hopefully bears fruit for both of us. So that's why I'm supporting it.
Hey, John,
Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
Just a question for John. I think how to phrase this. In the next 6 months, do you see, without getting too deep into it, not necessarily anything coming to fruition to the point of, being able to say that, we've got an anchor, you know, we're ready to make an offer, you know, et cetera. But is this realistic to think that there's going to be some progress in the next 6 months?
That's the crystal ball question. Mr. Smith on your board knows way more than I do in this regard, but just 6 months ago, the thought behind giving the 6 months to River Caddis was to allow us to get to a point where people were finally coming back to the office. And if we all know that just kind of opened up this month, right? So if you take a look at the national average, nearly one third of office workers have returned, with the exception of Austin and Dallas, and they're at 50%. That's across the nation. So we're all hoping that Q3 opens back up. People are starting to come back to the office. Larger campuses are turning into smaller satellite campuses and moving to places like Michigan State that have this amazing talent resource. I mean, that is the focus here. That's also why we brought on a national brokerage team. The goal is to hit these folks that are looking to take a 2 million square foot campus and do 10, 12 satellite campuses across the nation. Now, is that a reality? We're not going to know.
Sure, and that's
I
fair
have
enough.
a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, this is for Mr. McGraw as well. I'm more curious, you're talking about the collaborative efforts. Is there, just for our understanding, is there a reason why this advisory board hasn't met since June of 2020? And is it planning on meeting anytime soon?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that there's a stakeholder meeting. I'm hoping that it's way more collaborative, to be honest. If I had my way, actually, the only way I really see the best possible situation for all parties, both public, private, and institution, is if Michigan State gets involved. And to do that, we have stakeholders across the city and that we're on this board, and putting all of our heads together, being honest together about what we can achieve, bringing in the right partners. Because not everybody wants to be on campus. There's a lot of amenities downtown East Lansing. There's a ton of them. And a lot of companies could really utilize that. So if we're able to put our heads together and continue this, I believe that with city leadership and DDA leadership, we can accomplish a lot. The last meeting turned out to be more of a presentation from me and less a dialogue. There wasn't many things that were said except for, we like the way you're going. So if we're going to have a collaborative talk, then let's do it. We need it.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I do have a question for city staff too. Yep. Or really anyone. The last time we went through this, every time there was an extension, there was also a fairly significant amount of money attached to the extensions. Is there a reason we're not looking for that this time? I'm not suggesting we should. I just want to know what our reason is to not have that sort of same deal put place this time around.
Vice Chair, I'm not sure I understand the question. There was a lot of money attached to the extension?
Yeah, I mean, we're with Volhakis and Royal, weren't every time there was an extension, weren't they also putting money down to extend?
Yeah, I couldn't speak to Volhakis in that deal. That was prior to my time. I'm not sure if there's other staff on the call that can.
Sure, I can speak to that. I really think this is a much different scenario that we find ourselves in here, where we're moving towards really an office type product as opposed to a housing type product, and we're at a much different stage of the game here. As you recall, we went through an RFP for this particular situation. And we're at the juncture where the developer is spending a lot of their money and a lot of their time. And I think that's kind of what we're getting out of it as the DDA, and that they are essentially doing that on the come, if you will, and that we're working towards trying to put a project together that is in the DDA's sweet spot in terms of our priorities. So I think that hopefully explains a little bit of the kind of different animal that this deal is.
Thanks, Tom. Luke, did you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Greg, did you have something that you wanted to jump in with earlier?
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question of John. Obviously, office space has been decimated by the pandemic. That's a given. Are you willing to entertain a different type of mixed use in the facility other than exclusively office?
Well, if you recall, Mr. Ballwine, we recommended that it would be a mixed use in the first place, but commercial use. We're not responding to anything that involves housing at this time, or don't plan on ever doing that in the future. So it depends on what you're considering to be mixed use.
Well, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't pretend to know, but if somebody came up with an idea that was different, then I guess more to the concern is, if you find tenancy, but maybe it's not the full amount of stories like the tenant that you did have on the line to fill the space. I mean, would we be lowering the height of it? Would we go back and talk about that? Or I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, then my answer to that would be definitely. Our goal is to get people downtown. If we're moving from 280,000 square feet to 150,000 square feet, that's still a big win. And that would include the reduction in height and to program that site accordingly. Now, if there was a potential to include that 150,000 plus possibly another 50,000 for potential space, because it becomes this initiative, then we also want to consider that. But that's all part of the design. That's all part of the programming of the partnership that we're trying to create. But we can't do any of that design, any of that programming until there's an anchor that's interested in not just the site, but it's interested in East Lansing.
Oh, for sure. I couldn't agree with you more there, John. I guess all right, I guess you answered my question. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do we have any other questions of John or any more discussion on this motion? Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, it was just very quickly. I just want to put a period on the end of my comment from earlier from the amendment. My question and thought was simply, if it benefits all sides, is it worth amending to allow for that to occur? If it doesn't, then it's really moot at this point.
Yeah, so I see your point with your amendment, Jeff. At the same time, I think that the McGraws, as George put earlier, have put a lot of time, money, effort into doing this. And in my opinion, it feels like we certainly owe them another 180 days of trying to make this thing happen. I was a little leery of the automatic renewal initially, but upon further reading it, it's certainly something that we can decide as a group to terminate if necessary. 180 days from now, obviously, John alluded to the crystal ball, that he doesn't have, which, clearly none of us do. And, we could be looking at a whole new set of COVID circumstances at that point, for that matter, if this stuff doesn't get under control. So, the office as we currently, the offices as we currently know them, may not ever exist as that ever again. So we might have to change our vision here in the future. But I think that another 6 months at this point, with these properties having sat vacant for so long, I think we can eke that out. But I think that come 6 months from now, we really got to start looking at whether or not this is realistically going to happen, because the payments start to inflate here on our bond schedule pretty soon, and we got to figure out a way to come up with some money. So, anybody else have any comments or thoughts on the motion?
Do we do a roll call?
All right,
vote,
I guess.
Chair?
Yeah, I think we should do a roll call vote. George, do we need to restate your motion, or I guess it's just as presented by the staff? I don't see no real reason to restate it. So if everybody has their packet, they understand what the motion is. I guess, Chad, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Babcock,
Yes.
Pauline,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Hackney,
Yes.
Kruger,
Yes.
Lahanas,
Yes.
Levinson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Greg. Excuse me, was that a yes, Mayor Pro Tem? Yes.
Sorry, yes, I've got
I
the dryer
see.
going in the background. I didn't want you guys to have background noise.
Thank you, thank you. That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Chad. And I guess let's, make a note to staff that we do want to see this back on the agenda at the end of the year, just to make sure that it is something that we want to continue to renew. So moving on to committee reports, the Executive and Finance Committee did not meet, nor did the Public Policy and Market Development, I believe. Or did you guys meet, Luke?
No, sir.
Okay, I didn't think so. And then I know P and I did not meet either. Reports from chair and board members. The Downtown Management Board did not meet, and I'm pretty sure the Parking Task Force did not meet either. So do we have any announcements or board member comments?
I'd like to say something. I just wanted to mention an initiative when Peter talked about the art initiative with the Broad Art Museum. I am on the Friends of MSU Theater Board, theater department. So Peter and I met with the chair, the new chair of theater at MSU, and a faculty member, and then after that, Adam and Wendy and the chair of theater did a walk through downtown. So the theater department is interested in bringing student theater down to MSU. Use some of the unoccupied space or some outdoor space. I think this is going to go forward. The students aren't here this summer, but I think there's some real potential to bring more activity downtown from the campus, integrate theater, some activity. I think it'll be positive. So I just wanted you to know that that is something that is sort of happening, hopefully. So interesting.
That sounds really cool, Jackie. Thanks for sharing. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I wanted to just mention that Mr. Kroom was also the DDA liaison to the Downtown Management Board. I did not confirm with him with his resignation from the DDA that he was also resigning from the DMB, but I am assuming that is the case because that was his position. So just at some point that is going to have to be filled as well.
Yeah, I believe he was only on the DMB by way of the DDA. Yeah.
I was also on the DMB, well, currently am on the DMB. I'm not sure if I'm able to continue that in this capacity or if I should, but I think that that's something that we can work with staff on trying to figure out who makes the most sense to bridge that committee. Any other board member comments? All right, seeing none, I know we've got a BRA meeting after this. How long? Chad,
we will.
What do we need, 5 minutes?
We'll start getting set up as soon as we get off this call, and give us about 5 minutes.
Okay. Why don't we see everybody back here in 5 minutes? I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Michael,
We
great
actually-
job running your first full meeting officially.
Yeah, thank you. I think we are required to vote for adjournment, though.
Thank you.
Michael.
Well, if that's the case, I stand corrected. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you in a minute.
Mhm.